I hope you're ready to help raise the sun over the proving grounds today in the Mooseman. Also, just Mooseman. Though, when you look on the storefronts, it is referred to as the Mooseman, even though the title screen just says Mooseman. Slightly confusing. Also doesn't help on eBay listings when you type in the proper title and most of them are listed as the Mooseman. So, can't really blame anyone because it is a little confusing because the logo doesn't include the, but anyway, nitpicks aside, the Mooseman is a Norse mythology vibe type game that was created by a Russian team of devs. Now, as far as I'm aware of, it's not based directly on anything that's authentic. However, they're all like similarities to some mythologies. So, I would definitely say if you're into Norse mythology type things, or even several other mythologies, it might be worth checking this title out. Now, this is a Wet Arts title, which, I can always see a lot of people just like, duck and cover, duck and cover. No! Why? Why is it freaking another Wet Arts game? Uh, so, the Mooseman is kind of a mix. It's essentially a walking sim with very light puzzle elements. It has collectibles to find that add to your collection of symbols and myths about the world you're in, but essentially the gameplay is a left to right affair, artistic design, and it uses very simple puzzle solving, especially for a good chunk of the game, but it starts involving a few other elements of solving puzzles. There are a few hidden secrets that I did even miss, so it's not a completely linear experience, but it is pretty linear. I'd say the best thing this game has going for it is its art and its kind of, how should I say, its vibe with the music and that. It definitely does have a very mythological kind of vibe to it. But outside of that, the gameplay is very simple. So one of the first elements that you get introduced in the game is having the Moose Man mask on. Now, the Moose Man mask taps into the spiritual realm of the world. And you can take it on and off as you play through the game, and this affects the world physically and spiritually, and you use it to solve most of the puzzles. But sometimes there are interactable things in the environment that you also have to use to either traverse or get around puzzles and that. On top of this, you're on your journey. So, what is the Mooseman about from a story perspective? The Mooseman is traveling, and you're slowly fed in the story, but the Mooseman's destination is the underworld. So, this has a very nice kind of vibe to the setting in that. And the controls are also a little interesting and odd at the same time. Like I said, it is a left and right affair. You use the X button on PlayStation to go between your mask and that. But you can also double tap and begin auto walking if you want to just kind of enjoy the scenery a little bit more and relax. Now, of course, that kind of takes the interactivity away more from you. Another thing that's kind of weird for the PS4 is you can use the touchpad to move your character left and right as well. Using it in the menus, you can make a mouse cursor appear, but I kind of feel like it's kind of worthless for that because clicking in the touchpad doesn't do anything. But if you hover over something and then hit X, it will select it. But that seems kind of pointless when you could just use the analog stick. But, you know, it's optional. Though it's not necessarily bad to be able to use the touchpad. You don't even have to like keep scooting. You can just rest your finger on the left or right side, and he will move that way. So it's pretty nice, relaxing way that I think is a little better than simply using the double tap system, but it's there for you to use. Now, there are enemies in this game that can kill you, and when you're killed, you're just taken back to a checkpoint. And the checkpoints are very numerous. It's not a hard game at all. It's a very relaxing, simple, laid-back game. It's not something I imagine a lot of people would replay or anything, but like I said, the setting and the music is very nice. The art is a simple but interesting design. It's not anything terrible at all, but I feel like it's really light on the puzzles. The more interesting aspects are when you have to deal with some of the mythology creatures that you run into that are treated as like different deities and gods. You'll run across several of these creatures along your journey down to the underworld and beyond, and they each have their different mechanics of basically avoiding being killed by them. And they're kind of basically the bosses, you could say, of the game, as each one poses different problems and challenges for you to get around. But again, this is a very simple game in my sense. Now, you do learn more about the world, like I said, as you gather up myths that will tell you more about these different creatures in the world around you. I did enjoy reading some of this, but it's really just more of a distraction, really. I didn't say, like, it's not something I'm gonna, like, remember for years and years down the road, but it wasn't necessarily bad. I kind of feel like I would have liked to see a bit more puzzles in the game myself, but that's just me. Overall, I did enjoy the setting, the music, and that. It's very mood setting for the most part. And there are some very lovely sights. I like a lot of the nighttime sky scenes that happen in the game. But at the end of the day, it's a very simple game, and it's not very expensive digitally. But of course, it is me. Of course! Meaning that I have this physically. Which brings up the question, is it worth getting physically? Well, we'll talk about that with the price here. So, the Mooseman, like I said, is at best like a walking sim, and at hopeful best a mix of point click ideas, but it is, in my opinion, more of a walking sim because it's just a lot of walking. I mean, even the slight things you interact with, you're mainly just holding them to positions and that, like moving logs in the spiritual realm to get over gaps and things, but you're not directly being the one who's grabbing it and that, you're just scaling it off in directions and such. The Mooseman, I would say, isn't necessarily a bad thing that I wouldn't recommend. I could recommend it for the right price, and it's $6.99 to buy this game on all platforms, on the Xbox One, the PS4, the Switch, and PC. So there's no price differences. But if you want to get this physically, that becomes the questionable part. But I guess I should say, what do I think the value of the game? Personally, I think a $4.99 price, $5 would be a little better in my opinion. $6.99 is obviously not terrible. It's just a little bit more, so it's not the worst offender in a price difference. But I think $5 is probably a better deal because I don't see a lot of people replaying this game unless they're basically going after the unlockables for trophies and that. Trophies, team achievements, and that. I can't imagine a lot of people likely replaying this game. So, in the end of the day, it's a very short experience. But the physical version was about $29 when it was available, but it's sold out everywhere. You can't even go to Video Games Plus to get any copies now, so it is bye-bye. And the physical version was only for the PS4. And eBay prices are pretty scarce. Like I said, because the weird, not well communicated title, the logo saying just Mooseman, but the actual title being The Mooseman. Some listings are kind of hidden, but looking around, the cheapest I see is a $29.49 and a $35 offer. Other than that, there are 2 for $50 and 1 for $90, so there aren't a lot of listings for this on eBay. But honestly, I'd have to fall back on, if you really had to get this physically, I can't recommend it for more than $19.99. As I've said, $19.99, I think most people can agree, is universally the reasonable lowest price you can go for a physical game to try and get a profit of that. I can't recommend getting the game for more than that, really. I don't feel it's worth it, but that's just my subjective opinion. Sadly, you cannot get this game DRM free. As far as I've checked, I could not find it on any DRM free stores. However, there is there is a demo on one of the DRM free stores, which is a little bit odd to me, considering that was like posted 2 years ago, so that seems to indicate they have no desire to put on that storefront. So Steam is your only place to get this game, and honestly, if it was DRM free somewhere, I would definitely recommend getting it via that way, but it isn't, so you'll just have to kind of pick your poison on where you would prefer digitally. This game is for sale very often. Like right now, it is on sale for, it was 2 something, it is on sale for $209. A very strange price, but and for that I can definitely see as a okay investment for a one-time playthrough of the game. Like I said, the mood and the art, I kind of feel like, are the highlights of the game. Puzzles are very basic, and it's a very short story. If you're really into mythology, like I said, that's probably the other thing that would be a treat. And I do enjoy mythology. I did enjoy some of the tales about the Mooseman's family, some of the Dantine god creatures that you encounter, and ultimately understanding what the Mooseman is doing throughout the story. But it wasn't enough for me to be like, this is a highly recommended type title kind of experience, if you know what I mean. I definitely would not throw it down with some of the lower graded stuff that Wet Arts Games has done in the past. I would kind of hold it in the middle of their catalog out of titles I've played from them. So, not the worst thing, but again, something kind of hard to justify getting a physical version, short experience, everything. But let's go in the spoilers real quick, and we'll close out the video then. So, spoilers about what I think about the story. Ultimately, what you understand about the Mooseman is the Mooseman accidentally basically sent the sun by killing one of the Dentines to the underworld. So his children, basically every day, one of his children make a journey to the underworld to get the sun and what lies in the world to give sunlight to the day, as it will fall back to the underworld and the process repeats again, is essentially what the story is. So every single day in this world, the Mooseman's children, one by one, will go down to the underworld to get the sun and rise it for the morning. A pretty simple but interesting little story to find out as you progress through the game and what happened and how it got sent to the underworld in the first place. Not the, most mind-blowing twists in the world, but an enjoyable little story in my opinion. Overall, though, like I said, I would get on get on a sale on whatever particular platform you prefer, unless you really, really desire to get physically. But that's a subjective now. You'll have to choose. But that's what I think about the Mooseman. Not the worst thing I've played from Wet Art's game, so that's a plus. Anyway, if you feel like you learned anything interesting about if you have learned anything interesting in the video, please feel free to leave a like. And if you feel like you learned nothing at all, feel free to leave a dislike, guilt-free. And until next time, be careful out there in the spirit realm. You wouldn't want to be lost in that underworld. That spider down there was a mean little fella.